Here we go.
Right. See people, participants arriving. So I'm saying good morning, everybody. Hopefully you can see my slides. Welcome to the Lenovo Smart Collaboration EMEA Technology Club, first one of 2024. This is our quarterly online webinar for all of the SC, our Smart Collaboration Expert Business Partners, led by the EMEA Smart Collaboration Technology Team, Mauro Bussano, Jean Poupard, and myself, Sean Langley. So, quick intro, as always, for those of you that have joined us before, thank you for coming back. For those that it's your first time joining Technology Club, I hope you enjoy it. Please do feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A. If it's not related to the content that's being discussed at the time, not a problem. My colleagues will be on the chat, of course, throughout the webinar as we go on today. Previous decks from Technology Club are available, of course, on request, so please just ask for that at any point. So, table of contents today, another action-packed lineup. We're going to start with our latest offering, newest member to the ThinkSmart family, talking about the Lenovo ThinkSmart Bar 180. We have some new enhancements in the camera control settings for ThinkSmart Cam, ThinkSmart One, and the Bar 180. Mauro is going to talk about Microsoft Intelligent speakers and cameras after that. Then always a nice recap on the latest features that have been introduced to ThinkSmart Manager, because they're becoming thick and fast, as you all know. Each month we get an update on ThinkSmart Manager now, so there's lots of new stuff to talk about there. I'm going to go over again with dealing with front of room displays, Microsoft Teams rooms, always a hot topic, and just good to kind of go over that again. And then we're going to have a deep dive by Jean into Lenovo's purpose-built computes and what does it mean. So very interesting section, that one is there indeed. And then Google Series 1 updates, latest about the some new features that are rolling out and soon to roll out the Google Series 1 kits. And then last but by no means least, it's going to be news and updates. So as I mentioned, anyone just joining, please feel free to pop any questions in the chat at any time. And let's get started. So always like to start by just talking about the portfolio quickly, the positioning, where they fit, and just have a quick overview of that so everybody's clear of where the products are. So starting at the top, we have the room systems, ThinkSmart One. So it's slightly rescaled there. It can go into a phone booth or a personal space. We've had a few inquiries recently. I don't know, can it be done? It can be done, of course, still needs a resource account and stuff. And then all the way up to a medium room, so that 4.5 to 6 meters. 6 meters being important, microphone pickup range is rated at 6 meters, 180 degrees spread. Of course, the ThinkSmart One, the only all-in-one bar on Windows still at the moment. It can be paired with either the USB controller or the IP/PoE controller, as I like to call it. And then we have the ThinkSmart Hub below, the almost all-in-one, center of the table, MTR, also known as the cash register by some, but yeah, a solid workhorse that's been going very well. Again, small to medium rooms and can creep into some large rooms, really depending on acoustics and table layout in that space. And then the most popular, the ThinkSmart Core, great solution to standardize on all spaces there, from small rooms all the way up to medium rooms, large rooms, and of course extra large compact spaces where of course it can be paired up with a vast array of other certified peripherals. We have the ThinkSmart Cam and the ThinkSmart Bar and Bar XL. Can be used across from personal space all the way up to a medium to just about large room, again depending on acoustics and size and table layout and stuff like that. We have the new products, the ThinkSmart Bar 180. You know, more on that in a second, but of course that can be used all the way up to a medium-sized room there. Lots of great intelligent features packed into the Bar 180. ThinkSmart View Plus, personal spaces, huddles, offices, hot desking, lots of different use cases there. Certainly wouldn't expect to see it in a meeting room of any bigger than 4 people, but again, it could go in a small kind of picnic bench type layout or something like that. And then ThinkSmart Manager, encompassing all of our devices in the meeting room space there. All of them can be managed and controlled within ThinkSmart Manager. And then, of course, at the bottom, last but by no means least, we have the Google Meet Series 1 room kits, which span all the way across from small rooms up to large and even some extra large rooms there. And professional services wrapping around all of that, standard 3-year Lenovo Premier Support warranty, extendable on there with all of our Smart Collab for Premier Support techs available on hand, offering deployment assistance, first-year maintenance assistance, and of course ongoing technical support, product warranty, and dealing with all those matters if necessary. So let's jump into the Lenovo ThinkSmart Bar 180. It's going to be available very soon in the next few weeks. We've been making lots of noise about it in various different channels for the last couple of months. Got one sat beside me now. I'm pleased to say I've been playing around with it for quite a while. Quality product, as you would expect, for the ThinkSmart product range. Let's talk about some of the spec there. The sharp-eyed amongst you will probably realise it's a partnership with Jabra and the Panaclass 50, but this is a fully branded Lenovo Jabra partnership. Just below the triple cameras in the center is the Jabra logo, and of course we have the ThinkSmart logo on the front at the left, and then a Lenovo logo on the right-hand side. But hardware-wise, it's the same. It's just been reskinned with kind of blacky type charcoal color to match some of our other products. But it's a very powerful AV-enabled audio-video bar for small, medium meeting rooms. Can also be used in personal spaces as well. Ideal positioning for this is paired up with a ThinkSmart Core full room kit. So it'll be like a full room 180 kit, if you like, on there, because of course there's integrated microphones, speakers, DSP, AI-based cameras and stuff like that in there. Will work as a bring your own machine, bring your own device solution for systems without or when you don't want to put in an MTR or a Zoom room in place. And as I mentioned, ThinkSmart branding for ease of purchasing on support. And of course, it's covered with the same warranty and support as the rest of our products. So key features currently available on the Bar 180. We have intelligent video, virtual director, intelligent zoom, and dynamic composition. And then the intelligent audio side of things is precision voice detection and full duplex audio. It's fully certified, of course, for Microsoft Teams and Zoom rooms. So there's going to be some single SKU for a core full room kit. It'll be manageable, of course, in ThinkSmart Manager. 3-year support, as I mentioned. Same ThinkSmart Start, first-year maintenance, ThinkSmart Start promotion available with that. There's also custom imaging available for the core full room kit with Bar 180. So you can see ship support is going to be pretty much around ISE time very soon, next couple of weeks. And of course, at ISE, we will have all of our products and the Bar 180 on the booth. So if you are heading over to Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time, please stop by and say hello. The 3 of us will be there all week and always happy to talk about anything AV, technical, or whatever you like. You know, we're a friendly bunch. So let's have a quick look at the offering matrix here. So to begin with, we have ThinkSmart Core bundled with either a USB or IP controller with the Bar 180. It's very standard again, 3-year warranty across them. The ThinkSmart Manager Premium 1-year coverage will only be included with the ThinkSmart Core 180 kit, as will the maintenance. You can see the bar standalone will be available, let's say January 2024, almost a next couple of weeks, as I mentioned. And then the Core full room kit 180 will be in February 2024. So soon after, a few weeks after, but not long. So let's have a quick talk about some of the features available on here. Of course, it's a value pack firmware updates available for Windows Update. Intelligent zooming, those of you familiar, obviously, with these features, they've been around, some of them for quite a while. Of course, new features are coming in from time to time. We're just introducing some of them to begin with, and then developers are working on to fully introduce all of the features available, because they do come through thick and fast from the Jabra devs and stuff like that at times. But intelligent zooming is a typical tracking, zooming framing people in the room based on a 180-degree field of view. And we have virtual director, which will frame the active speaker, of course, using all 3 cameras and 8 microphones in the device. Dynamic composition, where it will cut out a frame of up to 4 people in the room. So you get that kind of grid gallery type layout, as you can see on there. Have the option to do people counting. Of course, that's toggleable on and off, as are room notifications and stuff like that as well, relating to how many people are in the meeting at any one time. Live whiteboard streaming as a feature we hope to see introduced in the coming months with that as well. So you need to kind of set it up like a content camera. And then same with intelligent speaker and multi-stream IntelliFrame camera. They'll be coming soon as well. So that's just to kind of whet your appetite what's to come in there with the features. But a really important addition to our portfolio, having the Bar 180 there, because having that intelligent camera, intelligent audio capabilities is essential. So we have a camera control app that has obviously been able to control the ThinkSmart Cam and ThinkSmart One all-in-one camera. That has now been updated to support the Bar 180, and it also supports the Jabra White Panacast 50 because they are, after all, identical devices under the hood. It does require the latest firmware, which is 651, currently available there, but the camera control app can be downloaded from the usual place. And this is the standalone executable app for those, if you're not using ThinkSmart Manager, because all of these features are available in ThinkSmart Manager if you're managing your device exclusively there. But if you do wish to use the 180 on your own machine for personal usage or something like that, then the camera control app is necessary just to configure the settings as displayed on there. As I touched on, most features are configurable, while the Bar 180 is not on. When you enable camera live view locally, that allows you to adjust some PTZ settings. But of course, if the camera is in a call, you're not able to adjust them live on real time. This is more like it's a pre-set up application, so you get the framing and whatever AI features enabled as you like, and very similar to the ThinkSmart Cam and ThinkSmart One, how we set them up there. Moving on, so camera control through ThinkSmart Manager, as I mentioned, it's basically identical. The same settings are available, the options to do peripheral configurations, something we touched on the last Technology Club, I think it was back in September now, last year. So that's where, if you're doing large deployments of any of our cameras, ThinkSmart Cam, ThinkSmart All-in-One Cam, and Panacast 50, you can build preset configurations in advance. Oh, sorry, skip ahead there. In advance to set them up accordingly. So perhaps you don't want to have people count on and just want to zone in. You might want to enable Virtual Director on those. You can save that as a peripheral configuration. Then when you open up the settings in ThinkSmart Manager for the Panacast 50, 180, whatever it is, you can choose peripheral configuration and then load that configuration to the device nice and quickly. So it just saves time on deployment. So live view in ThinkSmart Manager. It's a basic feature, so you don't need a premium license to be able to activate live view. Latency-wise, it's very good for sort of, doing that pre-config. And for those that have used Intel vPro to view cameras on there, a bit of latency with vPro as you would expect, but certainly with Bar 180, the live view, when you're in the camera settings that way, it's much more snappier and quicker because it has to do less processing. But like I said, it works only when no meeting is in progress there. So lots of different features you can try out and tinker with. Also, we have live view under the granular controls in the organization account settings under permissions in ThinkSmart Manager. So these are buried away that basically allow individual or batch configuration of certain key features, perhaps for privacy reasons or something like that in there. As you can see on the column, you've got your meeting rooms that are already claimed in ThinkSmart Manager, and you can just toggle on various features on and off. Remote desktop relates to vPro, as does terminal, and then you've got camera live view, which is what I was just talking about. And then at the bottom, 3 different toggles just to toggle them off on an org-wide basis on every single device very easily. So the camera control options, we have the camera control app, which of course is supporting all 3 of our devices. The Panacast 50 is supported on Jabra Direct. The ThinkSmart Manager, we have the possibility for all 3 of the Lenovo cameras to, of course, be controlled and settings changed under the basic license. And with Panacast 50, you require a premium license in order to get those controls. We've also just released the MTR second page camera controls for the ThinkSmart Cam and the ThinkSmart All-in-One Cam. 180, we're told will be coming soon. but more on the camera controls coming later. But I'm sure many of you are familiar with second page controls via control system manufacturers. Exactly the same concept of that, but more of that to come in subsequent.
Sean, just there was a question from the audience about the possibility to use a Jabra Direct, so the application, to configure also the ThinkSmart Bar 180. The answer is no, meaning that only the ThinkSmart cam control application or the control through ThinkSmart Manager can be used for the ThinkSmart Bar 180.
Yep, absolutely. I believe there's a link on the ThinkSmart Manager HTML solutions guide down on there, and it does talk about it goes off to a separate page about Bar 180, what the limitations are, what you can and can't do with that, and at the bottom it does mention that it's not currently compatible with Jabra Direct on there. But you know, ThinkSmart Manager is always the best way to control the features of our camera and products. Sorry, I had the chat open rather than the Q&A window. I'll get that open now. Keep an eye on that. So ThinkSmart Cam Control MTR second screen plugin. So it's available to download right now. As you can see, the release date was it was released on the 17th of December. I've had it installed on all of my MTRs on there. It's a very simple executable. It takes a couple of minutes to install, tops. And then, of course, it opens up that room control button on the user interface. So you just simply download and place on the administrator account of the ThinkSmart device, run the installer, reboot the machine, and then the room controls will appear on the user interface. As you'd imagine, you can only have one flavor of room controls running on an MTR. So if you do have rooms with complex control systems by the control system manufacturers, it's one or the other. You can't have a mixture and kind of toggle between the camera control second page and, you know, a bunch of other room controls that's connecting to a control processor or something like that. In the coming future, we expect the ThinkSmart Manager will include the options to push out this installer directly to the device from the ThinkSmart Manager portal, but just for the time being, it is a standalone executable that you must transfer onto the MTR admin account and install it from there. So ThinkSmart Cam Control is for the plugin. When you enable that, this is going to show a short video of basically where the controls live with the camera control application. It's important to note that any control adjustments that you make when you're in a meeting will be reverted back to the default state. So what I mean by this is, you know, if you configure your peripheral configuration in ThinkSmart Manager for your ThinkSmart Cam, your ThinkSmart All-in-One Cam, that will be set up when you start a call. It takes a couple of seconds. It will go into that mode. So if you don't have auto zooming on or something like that, it will always go to the settings that are on the camera itself. Of course, when the meeting starts, you're able to, I'll just play this in the background if it's running. There we go. Oh, there we go. The time's running. When you're in the meeting, that's when you can adjust the settings on the fly. You can see you've got the drop up, the three dots, select room controls, auto zoom, and then you just adjust them accordingly. This will just be for that meeting. As soon as you drop that call, it's going to go back to its typical behavior. So, you know, if you, this is to ensure that, you know, users might have a meeting, make a bunch of changes, and then perhaps the meeting afterwards, they don't want to come in and, you know, somebody just zoomed in the camera directly on their head. So it's always going to revert back to that default camera state that has been preset and configured at that time. But nice start, something pleased to see, and we expect to see more controls and features built out into this plugin application as time goes by. But you can see they're just moving through the various pan and tilt controls and the zoom on the video. So it's nice and snappy and responsive, but a good feature to have nonetheless. I think that was the same window. Was it that one? Yeah, beg your pardon. It's the end of the video. So I'm going to hand over to Mauro now. He's going to talk about Microsoft Intelligent Speaker. Over to you, Mauro.
Thanks, Sean. So, as Sean mentioned, one of the many features of the Jabra PanaCast 50, and therefore also of the Lenovo ThinkSmart Bar 180, is the Microsoft Intelligent Speaker. But what what is a Microsoft Intelligent Speaker and why it's getting important today. So let's try to understand some details. So an intelligent speaker is a device that is running a Microsoft proprietary technology to uniquely identify the voice of the speaker in a shared space, like in a meeting room, for speaker attribution into the transcript of the meeting. So actually, the logic is not only resident on the device. The device is simply providing a feed that allows Microsoft in the cloud to perform the speaker attribution. If if we consider the history of the Microsoft Intelligent Speaker, they actually were launched more or less 2 years ago. And we had some devices, the EPOS Capture 5, the Sennheiser Team Connect Intelligent Speaker, and also IE-Link similar product. Now, actually, we have two additional products. One is, of course, the Jabra Panicast 50 and ThinkSmart Bar 180, and also the center of the room camera from IE-Link. But so far, the application remained a niche application because it was used basically in just very specific business context. Lawyers, for example, or some financial businesses, where it was really important to have a transcript of the meeting with precise names of who said what. But now it's not anymore a niche application. Why? Because of Copilot. Copilot, and so all the artificial intelligence that Microsoft is pushing very strongly in the market, with lots of features that would save us a lot of time, would work in a hybrid meeting only if there is an intelligent speaker involved. Why? Because imagine, for example, the intelligent recap. The intelligent recap is a Copilot feature. And if the meeting is a hybrid meeting, it's important that you have in the transcript, that is the source that is used by Copilot to perform the intelligent recap, the name of the specific people inside the meeting room who said what. And so, for example, another very interesting functionality of Copilot is at the end of the meeting to retrieve a list of tasks and action points. But if there is no intelligent speaker, the result would be that most of the tasks will be assigned to the meeting room. Even if in the meeting room there were 10 people, and somebody of those 10 people said, okay, I will take care of that, please assign the action point to me, Copilot will not be able to understand that if there is no intelligent speaker in the middle. So now intelligent speakers become an essential component to allow the usage of all the functionality of Copilot in a hybrid working environment. So if we consider actually what Microsoft has announced in November at Ignite, there are two important changes. The first is that Microsoft is saying we will do, or we will try to do, speaker attribution, so the identification of the voice, only in the cloud, even if there is no intelligent speaker. Nevertheless, the accuracy of the speaker attribution will be much, much higher with the proper intelligent speaker like the ThinkSmart Bar 180. And in a minute, we are going to understand why that is. The other announcement was that if consider the current status today, you need a Microsoft Teams room on Windows connected to the intelligent speaker to make use of the functionality. Now, Microsoft is saying also this point is going to change because an intelligent speaker like the ThinkSmart Bar 180, even if used in a pure bring your own device way, so without a proper Microsoft Teams room, however, will send basically together, working together with the Microsoft Teams desktop client running on the PC of the user, will be able to provide the means for speaker attribution also in the bring your own device. You know that Microsoft is now opening the several set of features also to the bring your own device pure approach. However, I was saying that accuracy of speaker attribution is much higher when there is a real intelligent speaker, because there are some important hardware requirements. An intelligent speaker must generate 7 microphone streams, so 7 microphone feeds to be sent to the Microsoft cloud through the MTR or the Teams desktop application. Because in that way, Microsoft can properly and accurately provide the speaker attribution. And in fact, if we look at the bandwidth requirement, there are specific bandwidth requirements for the intelligent speakers. We are talking about 7 megabit per second of upload bandwidth, because basically you have to consider 1 megabit per second per microphone feed. Of course, in the other way that Microsoft is saying will be introduced in this year, by the end of this year, that is to avoid an intelligent speaker and try the speaker attribution in the cloud. Of course, in that case, since there is no intelligent speaker, you will not have 7 microphone feeds. You will have a single one that is the voice, the result of the certified microphone in the meeting room. And so the bandwidth requirement in that case is just 1 megabit per second. As I said, a real intelligent speaker is supported today only on a Microsoft Teams room on Windows. It's one of the many features that are available, at least for the time being, only on Windows systems. So if we try to retrieve other details about intelligent speaker, first of all, it's requiring an MTR Pro license. With the basic license, you cannot get this kind of features. What are the languages that are supported? Let's say the feature by itself is available where Microsoft Teams is available, so in lots of countries. Nevertheless, the languages that are supported in the transcriptions at the moment are only the languages that are listed here in the slide. Microsoft is saying that there is another list, a little bit larger, of languages, so for example, including Danish, Dutch, and so on, for the voice enrollment. We are going to see in a minute what is the voice enrollment. It's basically the possibility for each user to identify, or to allow Microsoft to identify the voice print. And so the languages for the enrollment can be let's say, including other languages as well. The problem is that in the transcript, however, only those languages will be supported. So this is actually the limitation at the moment, but for sure there will be more languages added in the future. In practical terms, what has to be done to be able to use speaker attribution, and so an intelligent speaker? An IT administrator, so with access to the Microsoft 365 admin, has to create two meeting policies. One that is affecting the Microsoft Teams Room resource account, and the other is for each individual user. For each user, basically, there are two parameters that have to be set. One is allow transcription, obviously, but the other is used to allow Microsoft to use the voice identification. However, let's say there are some rules that Microsoft is imposing to be able to use the speaker attribution properly. So the first and probably the most difficult rule, because it will require some level of adoption and training, is that each person who is taking part to the speaker attribution, even if they are attending inside the meeting room, they have to be explicitly invited. So if I set up a meeting and I know that Jean and Sean will attend with me inside the meeting room, however, if I want speaker attribution for Jean and Sean, I will have to send me as an organizer of the meeting. I will have to send the invitation to Jean and Sean specifically. That is the first requirement. The other requirement is that in the invitation, you cannot have more than 20 people, including the organizer. So we are not talking about auditoriums, or town halls, or this kind of meetings, of course. Because if you have more than 20 invited people, then intelligent speaker will be disabled by Microsoft. The meeting the meeting room should not have more than 10 people in the meeting room, because the intelligent speaker technology is designed to be able to identify up to 10 different voices. Of course, transcription have to be enabled, but you cannot enable transcription from the Microsoft Teams room. So there must be somebody, like for the meeting recording, somebody attending online, so with a desktop, Teams desktop application, to initiate the transcription. On the device side, what has to be done? In Jabra Direct, it's not yet available in the settings for the ThinkSmart Bar 180, but it will be soon. There is, under the settings, a playback device type. By default, it's set as communication device. If you want to enable specifically the technology of intelligent speakers, then you need to set it as Microsoft Teams Room device. The other thing that has to be done is in the setting of the Microsoft Teams Room itself. If you access the settings, under the section peripherals, you have to select not simply the echo cancelling speakerphone Jabra Panacas 50 or ThinkSmart Bar 180. There are slightly different names, and they are indicated in the slide, that have to be selected to make sure that the Microsoft Teams Room is working in conjunction with the logical entity inside the intelligent speaker that is performing the algorithm for speaker attribution. But I was saying, okay, Microsoft can identify my voice, but how? Because there must be a creation of a voice profile by each user. So how can I do that as a user? I access simply the Teams desktop application. I click on the three dots, settings, and then in the list of settings, you see at the bottom there is a recognition tab. So if I open recognition and I see nothing, it means that my IT administrator has not created yet the meeting policies that are required, as we said, for the speaker attribution. But if that has been done, I have a button with create a voice profile. When I open that, basically there is a script. You could say whatever you want. There is no need to read specifically that script, but that text provided by Microsoft is long enough to make sure that the voice profile, the voice print is properly created. It takes 2-3 minutes, not more than that, and the results are very effective. Also because we have to consider that this kind of Microsoft is talking about biometrics features. So in terms of identification, it's a voice. We have been talking about voice, but there is also a visual identification that Microsoft has launched. And as soon as the Jabra Panacas 50 and Lenovo ThinkSmart Bar 180 will be completely certified by Microsoft, it shouldn't take a long time, but as IntelliCamera, different names. Here we use the term multi-stream IntelliFrame camera. We are going to see that there will be, on top of voice recognition, also visual and face recognition. So let's talk briefly about what is a multi-stream IntelliFrame camera. We were talking, and Sean was talking about the dynamic composition. Dynamic composition is a very interesting feature, but at the end of the day, the camera is sending a single video stream. And so people attending online would see a tile with the size of exactly the same as other people attending online. That is split in up to four sections for the most active speakers. With the multi-stream IntelliFrame cameras, basically you have multiple video streams sent by the camera, each one with the up to four most active speakers. There is also usually another stream that is for the full framed set of people inside the meeting room. And the Microsoft Teams room, again on Windows, because it's again another feature that is available on MTR on Windows only, will send all those streams to Microsoft. Microsoft will play with those strings, but the result is that people attending online will now see the most active speaker inside the meeting room, each one with its own tile, same size as any other participant attending online. So the effect is much, much better. Let's say, since there are similarities between these IntelliFrame functionality and the functionality that is already supported, for example, with the Lenovo ThinkSmart Cam or the Lenovo ThinkSmart One embedded camera, that is the cloud IntelliFrame. So where basically it's Microsoft in the cloud that is trying to use pieces of the single stream coming from the camera to create different views of the active speaker. Let's say what happens is that by default, these kind of functionality are enabled in the MTR, but they are not enabled on the other remote side, so on the desktop, Teams desktop application of the online participant. So what has to be done by the online participant to benefit from those functionality is to right-click on the view of the meeting room, and then click on enable or turn on IntelliFrame, because in that case Microsoft will send multiple tiles. So again, interesting features that, however, require some adoption, some training to nevertheless, let's say we know that this new area of AI-based features, including Copilot, are requiring some training for the end users. So what is important here is that basically the intelligent speaker is just an initial element of the full picture that will be completed by the face enrollment and people recognition. So what happens is that also in terms of meeting policies, there will be the same requirements we were talking about intelligent speaker, with a little addition that is this setting that is described in this slide. Also in terms of creation of the profile, if that meeting policy has been enabled, there will be not only a voice recognition, but also a face recognition. If I remember, Microsoft is taking 9 pictures of you or something like that to create a face profile. So the effects are, first of all, that you can put a name close to individuals inside the meeting room, because now Microsoft is able to recognize your voice and your face. And also in the roster of the participants, you will have the meeting room that you can expand and see all the people that are physically present inside the meeting room. By the way, recognition, voice recognition or face recognition can be amended. So if you are attending a meeting and you see that because of any reason the identification of the people near to you is not correct, you can amend with the Teams desktop application. So some little rules. There must be an invite for the meeting. So if you are using the Meet button on the Microsoft Teams room, so basically you are having ad hoc meetings, there will be no recognition face or voice, and also if you have one-to-one meetings, or only if there are 2 participants, these features will not be available. So it's important that a meeting is always scheduled. So that's it. Now back to you, Sean, so that we move to the latest updates on ThinkSmart Manager.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mauro. So just take control of that. There we go. So back on the slide. So latest updates to ThinkSmart Manager. As I mentioned at the start of the webinar, updates are pushed out pretty much at the end of each month. So, you know, thick and fast, the update frequency has improved somewhat over the last 12 to 18 months or so. So we're going to start about the UC flexibility enhancements. This is a feature that was in beta for a good 3-4 months or so. And just to recap, the key thing to understand about UC Flex, what it allows you to do is almost re-image, change the UC platform of an MTR to a Zoom room, and then back it to an MTR if you need to do so. It only works that way. It cannot be a Zoom room and be changed to an MTR. It has to be an MTR in the first place, and then you can change it to the Zoom room. Now, whilst it was in beta, it was semi-automated. You could begin the UC Flex from the drop-down that is shown in the slide right there. And it would begin that way, but then there would still be an element of manual intervention actually on the device as it takes place. But now, as you can see on the first bullet point, the new automation now requires no local device interactions. So that's basically you set it to UC swap, change it from an MTR to a Zoom room or back the other way. You get a small indicator of the process completing, and you can just sit back and relax and let it do its thing. As I said, there's more verbose status indicators in the trade portal, so you know what's going on and how far it's progressing as it goes on. And like all other features, you can see events in the activity history, which is down on the bottom left-hand side on that selection there. So you can see who has done it, when, on what device at any time. Of course, after the device reset process is complete, a new auto-generated password will be created, and then that can be changed in the settings here in Device Manager, Devices, clicking on that individual device, and then you can change that in the configuration as well. So very similar to if you're claiming a device OOB, or sorry, you've re-imaged the device that's previously claimed to ThinkSmart Manager, and then if it will reclaim itself and auto-generate a password on that. So you're never going to get locked out of it.
Sean, let me jump in just for a second to
Please go ahead.
reiterate one important thing that we said already. To be able to use UC flexibility, the starting point must be a Microsoft Teams Room device. So cannot be a Zoom device. So if you start from a Microsoft Teams Room, you can switch to Zoom and back to Microsoft and as many times as you want. But the starting point must be a Microsoft Teams Room. It's not a technical limitation. It's a legal and commercial constraints imposed by Microsoft. Thanks.
Absolutely. Yeah, very important to know that is. So the next update, ThinkSmart camera global configurations or peripheral configurations. I touched on those whilst talking about the Bar 180 at the start. So these can be found under the Device Manager section. We have peripheral configurations here, and you very simply just build the configuration based upon the camera of which you want to set up accordingly. So typically we would see that done for different size meeting rooms. You can see the example there. It's a medium-sized presentation room. Want all of the AI functionality enabled, and then you can save that with the name of your choice, and then assigning that to the device in question is very simple by going into devices, clicking on the device you want, touching the camera, the pencil next to the camera, and then you can apply that configuration. So quick and easy, and it saves doing the same individual configuration on multiple cameras many times. So definitely something to try out there. And, you know, ThinkSmart Manager is all about streamlining and speeding up sometimes remedial processes of setting up devices or rechanging the configuration of them. So also we've introduced ThinkSmart Camera preset settings. Now, currently this is available for the ThinkSmart Cam and the ThinkSmart All-in-One Cam. And you will see this is the view you will get when you click the pencil icon in device settings on that particular device. And you'll see you have three sections to choose from there. So when you're first building a camera preset, a new camera preset, you would have it on custom, and then you basically decide what settings you want on and off. Then you go down, you have a drop down here, click save, new preset, and then you would name it. And then it's very simple after that, because you can just manage the preset and then apply it onto different cameras of the same type. So super simple, like most preset configurations are. But again, a welcome addition to this, because it just makes life a lot easier when configuring multiple cameras within ThinkSmart Manager. So as I mentioned there, the preset management, I just clicked on there, AI, device settings, and then manage presets. So once those presets are created, They will not only appear here, you can edit the names by clicking the pencil icon. Very simple. Up to 5 presets can be stored, and then they could be accessed very quickly via the drop down here on other devices afterwards. So to mention, room specific, and we look forward to seeing them integrated into the MTR second page app plugin, if you like, within ThinkSmart Manager March release. So not too far away there. So as we showed on the video earlier, when you're actually in a Teams call and you're using that second page control, if you've built presets for that type of camera, they'll be available to quickly chop and change in there just with a simple button press. So we've also added a new feature, which is in the configurations section of the organization settings, accessible in the top right hand corner of ThinkSmart Manager, and this relates to Windows Updates configuration. It's quite a simple thing, but sometimes quite useful. And what this allows, and it only applies to Windows 11 devices because of course most are now fully transitioned across to Windows 11. It's the forced installation of non-critical updates. For those that poke around in Windows updates and often check for updates manually, like I have some devices, they don't stay on 24/7. I just start them up when I need to do demos and that. I always like to jump into Windows Update and see if there are any updates available, as I do update MTR apps and stuff like that manually. But often I see some non-critical updates lurking around in there, and these can be various things, but simply by enabling this settings now of this setting of devices that's enabled in ThinkSmart Manager, that will do it all automatically, so you don't need to check to ensure there hasn't been any non-critical updates missed. So moving on next, we now have a new feature of BIOS configuration. Just a few settings to begin with here, but again, these are same as going into BIOS, digging out a keyboard and pressing F1 and hunting down the settings in there. Pretty self-explanatory. You can see here, it follows the same kind of methods, if you like, process of the peripheral configurations for the camera. You can simply build a device configuration, give it a name, and then of course you need to choose which device it's relevant to. And then you have an option of enabling enhanced power saving mode. And then after a power loss, what do you want it to do? Last state, power up, or don't do anything at all. That can be selected from the drop-down box. And then you have USB support. You have to be careful with USB support, because if you turn that off, the USB ports will not recognize anything plugged into them. So that's with it available at the moment. Changes will be applied, of course, after the next restart. So you can build that configuration, push it to a device, and then do a reboot, and then those BIOS settings will be applied. So as was announced back at Ignite in November last year, the Teams Rooms Pro portal, one-time password for setup of Microsoft Teams Rooms. So you can generate that OTP in the Pro portal, and then that might be if somebody else, might have an integrator installing a device or something like that. You're the Pro portal admin. You can generate this OTP, and then they can use that on the device so it can get signed into its resource account. Big benefit of OTP is also that no resource account information, so email addresses and passwords, do not need to be shared. You can just give them that OTP code. They can bang that into the machine when it's ready, and then of course that will pull the credentials from the cloud and the MTRP portal. But with the OTP, the Windows admin password has to be entered into the system to access in the first place, because its settings, like all MTRs, you need that local administrator password or the domain administrator password to access those settings. Of course, in ThinkSmart Manager, claiming during the out-of-box experience with the activation code allows to share neither the Windows admin password nor the MTR resource account password, because in ThinkSmart Manager you can access that afterwards. Just a quick note on ThinkSmart Manager firewall rules. This is something I get asked about quite a lot. Key thing to note is what's in the red box in the middle here. So the port number has changed. It's consistent now with all the others. Sort of rule of thumb here, all the ports used by ThinkSmart, by the URLs relevant to ThinkSmart Manager, use either 443 or 8080. There was a bit of an obscure port used in the past with MQTT. That has now been changed, and these are the current and should stay that way. URLs and port numbers required for ThinkSmart Manager to function correctly at the moment. Of course, as I mentioned at the top, the slides are available on request, so these will be available to anyone that needs them, wants to use them with ThinkSmart Manager there. But because they're pretty standard and typical ports, typically now it's quite easy to get everything accessed for ThinkSmart Manager. Of course, just a note there, the downloads actually come from Lenovo.com and not Windows Update. This is for the ThinkSmart Manager client that runs on the MTRs, and of course, for the portal itself, which is an HTML portal, they come directly from Lenovo.com. So it's always good just to allow everything from Lenovo.com, and then it comes straight from our servers. So tips and tricks with front of room displays, something that doesn't tend to go away in a hurry yet. From time to time, we still hear from different customers and partners and people alike that might have issues with EDID and front of room displays with Teams rooms. So it's important to re-emphasize our findings, and we're always keen to hear findings from others. It's share the knowledge so we can all learn together better. But just to go through what can be the process and what can be the main pain points with inconsistency of EDID information that's being shared between the source and the sink, or the MTR and the display, if you like. Some commercial displays will deliver inconsistent EDID information from receive it from the Windows compute, and that can result in the occasional black screen or just misaligned resolutions of the content that's being output to it. You can see that black or grey screen on the front room display. The console might become unresponsive. You might see it quickly, the Teams spinning icon or something like that. Scaling settings, as I mentioned, the console might swap console, show it on the front room display, and vice versa, and they kind of take a moment to negotiate for a second. These all tend to be related to EDID, and that EDID information not being properly communicated or breaking in some way there. Also, inconsistent implementation of standby modes. We found a couple of displays, they might go to sleep after the, whatever the sleep time set on the MTR, and then they wake back up, and it's not a nice, consistent, fluid experience of the screen coming alive or awake at the same time as the console in the room does. It might take longer than it should do, or it might not wake up at all. I'm not talking every display here, it's just some that we see in our findings. And as I said, it's important to kind of re-emphasize the importance of this. And then lastly, impossibility of permanently setting a display resolution to 1080p. So pretty much everyone's got a 4K UHD front of room display out there now. It's 2024. We're talking, or have been talking, for 8K and higher displays and stuff like that. But the reality is the majority of rooms and spaces and our homes at home and things like that have 4K displays in them. But they still struggle and are not fully designed to work with 4K resolutions. I'm talking about Windows-based MTRs and Zoom rooms. It's always had, Windows has had this bad habit of resetting the resolution and scaling back to what it thinks is the optimum setting, so to speak. I've seen it quite a lot. I have to play around and, set it like this and make sure it locks that way, and it'll be fine. But it could be an update to the graphics card drivers or something like that. It restarts, and then it might be a little bit problematic. So the key thing is there, when it discovers, discovers a new monitor and the EDID is slightly different, even though it's looking at 1920, it just causes issues. And we want everything to be as kind of, have a good experience with this. And of course, the way to solve this the issue is with hardware EDID minder, or you can go in and preset it in Windows. I'm certainly in favor of the hardware-based approach using EDID minders, but the information you can see on screen at the moment is the official information taken as from Microsoft. Absolutely, it works on there, but as I mentioned, occasionally you will just see things, some settings might revert back. But there's three methods. Of course, you can go into Windows settings, right-click display, and set it down to that and choose your resolution that you're happy with. You can also do it using running a PowerShell script like so, or of course you can do it with the Skype settings XML file and then dump it in the app data local directory there and reboot the system, same way as you would adjust any MTR settings using Skype settings XML. But the most robust approach, and has been and will be until there's fully supported 4K resolutions with MTR on Windows and Zoom Room on Windows, is to use an eDidMinder. Lots of eDidMinders out there. These are our three favorites that we tend to use more often than not. The Evan I believe he has the cheapest there, 18 euros. It's just preset down at 1080p, 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. Got a nice configurable one-way Lindy with a rotary dial on it when you can select lots of different EDID resolutions on that. Comes, of course, at a higher price point. And then you've got the next one down, the 2.0 EDID emulator there, slightly cheaper. But one per output, so one per display. If you've got a dual display setup, you're going to need one of each on there. And best practice, where do you want to put it in the signal chain? Well, put it right before it goes into the display. So with the ThinkSmart core, some of the larger eDidMinders can be a bit of a squeeze to get into the HDMI output port on the compute. So simply connect the cable, plug in the eDidMinder into the HDMI input on the display, and the signal chain is complete, and those EDID issues will disappear. So hopefully in a few months, or certainly by this time next year, we won't be talking about eDidMinders, but still at the moment it's something that's quite prevalent in today's room environments. And of course there's a lot of old displays and unusual displays out there where it can cause an issue. So it's just something important to talk about again there. So I'm going to hand over to Jean, who's going to talk about Lenovo purpose-built computes and lots of interesting information about computes and chipsets and stuff like that. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sean. Let me share the presentation. Okay. Now, what I can propose to you is, in fact, to travel with me inside the compute. And it's so important. And it's the choice of each manufacturer to define the right components, specifically the right microprocessor inside. Because don't forget that the compute must run 24/7 for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, which is the minimum warranty proposed by Lenovo, up to 5 years. And you must have a device able to run continuously without any default. So now let me discuss about microprocessor. Concerning the MTR, the choice of Lenovo is to use Intel platform, which is dedicated to run with Windows 10 IoT or Windows 11 IoT. But you have, in fact, many kinds of processor. The family is very large. For example, you have the lifetime of a processor, and the lifetime of a processor is usually dedicated by the market. One very important thing, smart collaboration compute is definitively not a PC. We are not in the same life cycle. Our products are defined for minimum 3 years. And this is why we need to choose the right processor, to choose the fastest, the lowest power consumption, the lowest availability. This is what I will try to explain to you. If you have a look on the denomination, of course, all the microprocessors are Intel Core, because based on many CPU. After that, you have the brand. Currently, we are using i5. And you have the gen indicator. In the picture, you have 6. It's very easy to identify what is the date of start of the processor. All the gen indicators starting from 2010. That means if you have 6, you have a processor from 2016. Right now, we will have the 14th generation, that's mean 2024. After that, you have a numeric digit, which is identify the SKU. And please take a look on the both next information. You have two suffixes. You have a letter suffix and a product line suffix, and I will explain to you. This is where you can find the right processor for the right application. This is a classic picture of what you have inside the processor. Inside the processor, you have two kinds of execution unit. The first one is the number of cores. This is where you have i3, i5, i7, i9. And you have the dimension of each core. But you have also another execution unit, which is the graphic processor, named the GPU. And you can see the size used in the silicium by the GPU compared to each core. And this is where it's so important to understand what is the role of the GPU. Because we are not in a PC, we are not in the system which is running application, we are running appliance, which is using a lot of powerful for the application, but a lot of graphic feature, because Teams is made and is built in many features, and more now with the AA implementation. This is why a CPU is not a GPU. CPU is running Windows, is running Teams for the software. GPU is running many graphic features inside Teams, including now intelligent feature, including now AI. If I have a look of the current market of the compute, I have many differences. The first one is the compute from HP Poly. You can see that the processor is Intel i7, that's mean Core 7, 12, that's mean generation 2022, and you have a T like the suffix. Please remind this T. For E-Link, it's another processor. It's a i7, generation 11, 2021, and you have two suffixes, G7 and E. G7 corresponding to the graphic system, and E is the suffix of the processor. Maxhub, which is a new manufacturer, chose to have i3 with a low powerful, and the index of the processor, of course, it's the 12th generation, and the index is P. And some idea for Creston, but Creston is using now Intel Luke, and we will see new device from Asus, because you know that Intel Luke move from Intel to Asus. You can find that, in fact, nobody uses the same processor. And what is the reason? It's very simple. If you consider smart collaboration, you must have a device dedicated for smart collaboration. But a lot of this compute are coming from the PC market. It's not more than a PC transformed for smart collaboration. And it's not the case of Lenovo. When we are speaking about ThinkSmart Hub, ThinkSmart Core, ThinkSmart One, we are speaking about a full compute dedicated to smart collaboration. And this is why we have defined to use processor with the index E, and also processor with G7. And E-Link use now the same. But for the other, it's totally different. The other thing is the power consumption is so important. The TDP, which is an index in the microcontroller, microprocessor, is the thermal design power. And you can see, with the choice of Lenovo, we are around 15 watts. It's not the case of the other, 35, 28, 45. Because it's a PC. It's not an IoT component. And the last thing, the last column, is the execution unit. Excuse me. Execution unit is completely dedicated to the graphic processor, but it's so important. When I am speaking about core, I am speaking about the number of unit, arithmetic unit in the processor. When I am speaking about graphic processor, I am speaking about execution unit. That means I will affect in each execution unit roles. For example, one picture, the other one blue, the other one the chat, the other one the share. More you have as execution unit, more you are able to run all the new functionality mandatory by Teams. And you can see that we have a lot of difference. Right now, with the choice of Lenovo and the Intel processor used, we are able to run up 80 execution units. Now, let me give you an idea of what is exactly each suffix that I show to you. If I back to HP, the T index corresponding to power optimized lifestyle. Definitively, it's a desktop system. Concerning the suffix G1 and G7, in fact, it's the level of the GPU, graphic processor. And you can see for Lenovo, we have with index G7. That means the latest graphic processor technology provided by Intel, which is Iris processor. And the processor choice was E, embedded, or power efficient for Lenovo. Concerning Crestron Max Hub, we have HQ, high performance. It's not dedicated to smart collaboration. We have performance optimized for thin and light laptop. We are speaking about laptop. But this processor is used, in fact, for the smart collaboration. This is why it's so important to have a view of what is inside the compute in order to be sure that the compute is completely designed for smart collaboration. Finally, I would like to give you an idea of how Lenovo built a system. If we have a form factor of the ThinkSmart core, you can see that, in fact, we have inside 3 sections, quite equal in terms of space. The first one is all the connector area. In the middle, you have not only one motherboard, like a PC. You have 2 motherboards with several additional cards in order to manage the thermal functionality. And you can see concerning the heatsink, it's not only one, like a PC. We have 2 heatsinks in order to have a maximum thermal management inside our system. This is what is a smart collaboration compute, and definitively not a PC system. Sean Amaro.
Excellent. Thank you, Jean. Excellent overview there. And if, when questions get asked, why Lenovo for a room system, what sets their compute out ahead of the rest? please refer to the data in the slides that we just talked about there, because the data speaks for itself. Purpose-built computes designed for thermal optimization and meeting room usage. Okay, so quick update on what's latest with Google Meet Series 1 room kits. Been a few updates that have come out recently. I'm going to start talking about Genius framing. So it's no secret that Huddly builds the camera for the meeting room, or they build the technology and the components for the Google Meet Series 1 kits. There's two types of camera. There's the standard and there's the XL cam. They're both by Huddly. But Genius framing is a feature that's been around for a while now with Huddly, and it's eventually been rolled out into the Google Meet kits. So as you can see, it smoothly frames groups of people in the meeting room for a nice consistent experience. And certainly Huddly, their software developers are excellent at bringing out new features, and the way their AI interacts with typical camera scenarios and stuff like that there. As you can see, it was introduced in the Chrome OS version. I won't read out the numbers because that's a bit painful, and both pushed out on December the 6th. Like with all updates for full production features and stuff like that for Google Meet kits, it's automatic, and it will get pushed directly from the Google servers to the meeting rooms automatically, so no settings required. But it's important to begin with, it's not enabled by default. So if you do want to leverage Genius framing, each time you join a call, you will need to access the camera control settings and turn it on. Soon it will be fully configurable in the Google admin portal, so you can decide which devices have it enabled by default. But just to begin with, it will always be off to start when you begin that call. So there's been a new Google Meet video class extensions unit for APIs. So we're just going to talk about some of these new specs that are coming soon on here. So continuous framing is something interesting. So they're moving ahead with this kind of, as Mara was going to detail about earlier, kind of intelligent framing, doing more with video streams simultaneously, and just using, again, AI and different algorithms and stuff like that to split the camera streams and, create a more immersive and natural video experience. Dynamic view is going to be interesting. One or more cameras will provide the best view of the room, and it will decide whether or not to composite multiple feeds into one. So that's going to, that's going to be interesting. It's certainly provide an interesting view of the room. Most meetings are typical to use that kind of strategy. And of course, with any type features like this, PTZ is disabled in this mode. Get my words out, because of course the AI is doing the panning, the tilting, the zooming automatically. And then we have some auto-framing bias here. So high stakes presenter, speaker tracking. I think we're all familiar with that. Whoever is the prominent speaker during a call there, then the camera will, of course, attempt to frame that person actively speaking in the room at the time. Biased towards anyone, CEO, front of house presenter, something like that. Something that's been around for a while. Collaboration room tracking. Camera will try its best to frame all participants in the meeting room, pretty much like auto framing feature that we use with the ThinkSmart cam. Then we've got some auto framing feeds information, single stream. Camera will send a single video stream to the host device, and then work in progress, currently multi-stream. So very similar as what we were talking about earlier in the webinar there. It's going to split the camera stream and create multiple video streams to send to the host or far end, if you like. So expect to see this stuff rolling out over the coming months from Google. Very exciting. Couple of known issues, just to make those of you aware in the Google Meet Series 1. Cameras may be disconnecting frequently and occasionally dropping frames. If that's something you experience, of course, contacting support is relevant and they'll be able to assist on there. But there's a simple workaround, and that's just moving a device into creating a new organizational unit in Google Admin Center. Set the release channel as beta. That will pull down a beta update, and then that will resolve that issue. Now, of course, that's going to be fully resolved soon, as you can see, because it's in beta at the moment, but it's just a workaround while they finalize exactly what that bug is and get it fully squished for good. Another one we've been made aware of, and I'm not aware of there being a fix at the moment, but it is quite, you know, a minority it's affecting. But after a sleep mode, the device is in the sleep mode, the touch controller may take around 30 seconds to load the screen after the CEC display has loaded. It could affect all Google Meet hardware products, so it's just something to be aware of. But of course, have support on hand. If you do encounter those issues, please reach out to support and they will be able to advise on the best course of action whenever those issues may be occurring. So that's all from me. I'm going to hand over to Mauro and he's going to finish off the webinar with other news and updates. Over to you, Mauro.
Thanks a lot, Sean. So let's finish this session with the 3 updates. The first is definitely something that will be covered extensively in the next Technology Club session around mid-April. It's something that Microsoft has announced at Ignite in November, and it's the support of Autopilot, Windows Autopilot for Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows, of course. So Autopilot is a feature, let's say it's a procedure that is extensively used for automatic and consistent configuration of laptops and PC. It's really good that it's now going to be extended, let's say, this quarter. We don't know exactly when, but it should be a matter of few weeks, to the Microsoft Teams room to get a consistent deployment, because basically you can deploy thousands of Microsoft Teams room exactly in the same way without depending on the specific skills and knowledge of the technicians. And above all, you can expedite the deployment. Microsoft is saying that with the auto login enabled, it's a flag basically where that allows to avoid entering the identification, the MTR room credential or the OTP or whatever. With that flag, we are moving from hours to around 20 minutes for a complete up and running and up-to-date solution. So how Autopilot works? It works with the involvement of Lenovo, so basically of the supplier of the device. What happens is that the customer, the end customer, is registering for the Autopilot service to Lenovo. There is a cost associated, more or less between $5 and $10 per device, and so very little. In that case, basically, Lenovo is informing Microsoft through the Windows Autopilot service that that device that is uniquely identified with a hardware ID that is not a serial number, it's a very, very long encrypted string that really uniquely identifies the hardware, that device belongs to that customer. And so Microsoft is then sending that hardware identifier to the specific Microsoft 365 administration of that customer, so that the customer can define an autopilot profile. The autopilot profile defines the setting of the device, the operating system level, also the Skype settings, XML, full configuration. So lots of details, so that as soon as the device is physically received by the end customer, it's just a matter of plugging in the power and connecting the peripherals, of course, and then it will automatically configure without any manual intervention. So very effective, definitely very easy to be used for customers that are already using Autopilot for laptops. It requires a little bit of knowledge or training again for the IT administrators in case they are completely new to Windows Autopilot. Another little update is about ThinkSmart Bar Extra Large as a standalone, but also as part of the current ThinkSmart Core Full Room Kit. Lots of customers have been complaining that the length of the 3.5 millimeter audio cables were not enough. So now, since November, all the units coming out of the Lenovo factories have in the box one 15-meter cable and a 6-meter cable. In the past, it was two 6-meter cables. Please remember that we are talking about a 5-pin audio cable. So not proprietary, but however, not so easy. So really our recommendation is to use what is in the box, and so what is provided by Lenovo. Very last update is about, probably we will provide some further details at the next Technology Club, but there is a very, very useful tool provided by Microsoft for automatic configure or automatic update, I would say, of a Microsoft Teams room on Windows. It's a zip file that you can download from that URL. You install that on the Microsoft Teams room as an administrator, you unzip, and then you launch as an administrator an executable file. Basically, you will see what has been shown in this video, but what is important is that automatically the system will check the time, will update the operating system to the latest supported, will update the Microsoft Teams Room application. So that means that, as you remember, as we said at the last Technology Club, you need to access the Windows admin user by pressing with a USB keyboard 5 times the Windows logo, because that is required to update the Microsoft Teams Room application. And several other things, like, for example, checking that the Teams Room Pro agent is installed. If it is not installed, it will download. And several other very useful actions. This tool is an official tool by Microsoft, and so it's definitely so you are definitely recommended to make use of it. And that's it. We have just 1 minute left. I saw some questions in the Q&A section. I hope, we hope that we were able to answer all of them. If you have further questions, of course, please feel free to send us your request. And I think that's it. Sean, Jean, do you want to add anything?
If you're in Barcelona, I see, stop by the Lenovo booth and please say hello. Good luck at that.
Yes, and we have also free tickets. So if you're looking for an invitation for free of charge access to ISE 2024, please let us know and we will provide them to you. And that's it. So thanks a lot for your attention, your participation. As I wrote in the Q&A, all the registered people will receive the slides that were presented and a link to the recording. For everybody, next appointment, apart from ISE, is for the next Technology Club mid-April. Thanks a lot and have a nice rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.